this is the calm, mature voice of reason speaking. This is a mammoth day on a mammoth occasion in a mega place, but don't let's preempt things. It isn't all over bar the shouting for Michael Schumacher. Like I always say, anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does. And here in Hungary, it certainly isn't over until the fat lady sings. The next 1 3/4 hours will show us whether Michael Schumacher is going to be singing the blues or a triumphant aria. And who would have thought, when he went out to join the grid, that Michael Schumacher, of all people, would go across the gravel trap at considerable velocity at turn 12. Now, you saw Martin trying to get into the Ferrari people to talk to them. Look at them now. There has been a major harouche going on down there. They've got out the sticky tape. They've replaced a barge board. And just little things like that can upset the equilibrium of a team, can damage the car slightly. And David Coulthard, of course, is ready to take advantage of any weakness that Ferrari show him. Because, as we all know, it's now or never in Hungary for David Coulthard and the McLaren team. It means so much to them, it means so much to Ferrari. They've won the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari, for the last 2 years. How they would love to make it a hat-trick. And Michael Schumacher, if he gets the World Championship here, will be the first driver in the history of Formula One to win 2 World Championships for 2 different constructors. Only 2 people have had 4 World Championships before. Alain Prost, of course, and the great Juan Manuel Fangio. And neither of them got 2 for 2 different constructors. Now, at the Hungaroring, the long straight that you're looking at there, or comparatively long straight, leads into turn 1, a tricky double 90-degree right-hander which falls away. And it does mean that the cars and drivers have got a longer run at that first corner than they have at some circuits, like, for instance, Monaco. And hopefully there's considerably less chance, therefore, of a coming together. We've had it before. We've had a coming together on turn 3, which is where they start the climb up this circuit. Wonderful place to watch a Grand Prix. And very, very, very difficult, like Monaco, indeed notoriously difficult to pass on. But Nigel Mansell proved in 1989 that it's more than possible to pass, because he started 12th on the grid, 12th on the grid for Ferrari, which is where, coincidentally, Jean Alesi is in the Jordan. And he fought through to win the race with a magnificent passing manoeuvre on Ayrton Senna's McLaren and Nigel in the Ferrari. So, things building for David Coulthard. Very significant, I thought, Martin, that as a chap who knows David so well, you deliberately kept away from him on the grid.
I think, David wants to do absolutely the best he can. He wants to win as many races as he can, and does not want to psychologically give up on that World Championship until it's mathematically gone. And I think that's the only attitude you can take. You never know. As Luca Di Montezemolo said, the boss man of Ferrari, in the last 4 weeks, Michael's had 2 enormous accidents, and both Ferraris dropped out of the last Grand Prix, so it's not over until it's over. We've seen Michael Schumacher going through the gravel trap already today on the outlap. We know he's been busy changing the front wing settings, which absolutely amazes me. They're still tweaking the car, although they do have a reasonable known quantity of track temperature equals X amount of front aero balance or whatever. They do have a graph they work to. But surely this race is not an absolute given this afternoon, Murray.
Yeah, and you probably don't know this, Martin, because you've rushed up from the grid, but they've actually had to change a barge board on Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, and the old roll of the ubiquitous sticky tape was out.
Oh, it's won a few Grand Prix before, hasn't it, the old gaffer tape. But Coulthard, we also know, had a bit of a gearbox gremlin, so they've changed the spare car from Häkkinen's name into his name and setting, so Coulthard's car not exactly absolutely perfect either.
Here we go then. This is the beginning of the action, not the race action. This, of course, is the formation lap. You've gone round this circuit with Martin and seen what it's like. Now you can do the same thing as the grid in the background clears, and the temperature here, I can tell you, is now 41 degrees, the track temperature. This race is going to last some 1¾ hours. It's one of the longest in terms of time Grand Prix that there is. It's enormously grueling for the drivers, tough on the cars, tough on the brakes, tough on the gearboxes, tough on so many things. So they're climbing up to and out of turn 5 in this 14-turn circuit now, which is where the wiggly bits begin.
Yeah, you see a lot of unforced errors at this racetrack during the course of a race, or you can do, because it is so dirty, just off lines, a very narrow line through the entire distance of this 2.5-mile circuit. And we saw it even in the Formula 3000 race yesterday. People, good drivers, making silly, unforced errors, but at this highest of high levels in Formula 1, we shouldn't be seeing too much of it this afternoon, but the pace is going to be hard. It's a breathless racetrack. It really, just like Monte Carlo, you've been going for what seems an eternity, and they hang you out a pit board that says 50 laps to go, and you can't believe it.
So, how about Ralf Schumacher? 4th on the grid, which I think is better than he and Williams and BMW and Michelin, whose tyres they are using, expected him to be. His teammate, Juan Pablo Montoya, down in 8th position. There is Tasso Marquez in the Minardi bringing up the rear.
Now the smart cookies that are starting on the right-hand side of the very, very dirty line here should have been this morning running down that side, trying to at least clean some of it. Only 2 or 3 of them did, one of whom was Coulthard, who has the greatest need to find some bite, some grip, as he tries to apply over 800 horsepower traction control or not through the 2 skinny rear tyres.
And you saw the streaks of rubber in front of Coulthard's car, where they've deliberately been spinning wheels to put rubber on the track to maximise the grip. The doctor's car comes up in the background, and watch those lights in the bottom left corner of your screen. 1 on, 2 on, 3 on, 4 on, 5 on now, and it is go, 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 and good start for Schumacher, good start for Coulthard, better start for Barrichello. Barrichello's gained a pace. This is what Ferrari want. Bad start by David Coulthard. There is Jarno Trulli coming up, and diving through on the inside is Ralf Schumacher. But it's Michael Schumacher leading, Barrichello second.
Jaguar off in the first corner in the gravel trap. Eddie Irvine out of the race already, and that is not a safety car or red flag situation. And a Minardi rejoining the racetrack too at turn 2. But it was curious to start, Murray. They all got, I was looking out of the window while you were taking us through it. All the front got away well, but the McLaren did not seem to accelerate in the same way that the Ferrari did through the second phase of the start, if you like. And Barrichello simply drove past David Coulthard down towards the first corner.
And it's a dream scenario for Ferrari this early in the race. Michael Schumacher, clear track in front of him. His teammate Rubens Barrichello behind him. Look at the gap. I'm not accusing Barrichello of starting to delay the people behind him already, but it's going to be wonderful for Michael Schumacher to know, and he will know, that he's got a scarlet buffer between him and the third place man who he fears in this race, or had every reason to fear in this race, with David Coulthard up there. And away goes Schumacher, Barrichello, Coulthard behind him.
And the crowd erupts outside the commentary box window. They want a Ferrari victory this afternoon, the vast majority of them anyway. And at the moment, of course, it is looking good. 1.3 seconds ahead of Barrichello over the start-finish line was Michael Schumacher. And already then Coulthard closing up to the gearbox of Barrichello. But as we know well, it's difficult to pass there. You have to muscle your way through at this racetrack.
No change at the top from the grid positions. Schumacher leads. Yes, there is. Barrichello ahead of Coulthard, down to 3rd. Ralf Schumacher started 4th, is 4th. Trulli started 5th, is 5th. Let's hope he keeps going. He's had so much bad luck this year. Mika Häkkinen started 6th, is 6th. And Nick Heidfeld in the... So, here we go.
Here's the start, and watch the first 3 cars. They're all the way absolutely in unison. Coulthard tries to cover his line, but look, just does not have the acceleration. Unless Barrichello is significantly lighter, I think that's down to electronics, effectively, and we're just going to miss in the background Eddie Irvine falling initially off the track, and finally we see him spinning into the gravel and out of retirement already. I think it was simply a driver error. Did not appear to trip over anybody, and Irvine buries the throttle, but he's not getting out of there. And this will be the incident with the Minardi at turn 2. Found himself running out of space on the outside, and again, just really driver error.
OK, but let's consider this. We haven't talked about strategy yet because we don't know what it is. It is not inconceivable, surely, that McLaren are hoping and intending to stay out longer than Ferrari, in which case they would have a heavier fuel load, and you can see the McLaren there, and in 4th place it is Ralf Schumacher. So maybe there is a strategical consideration. We're expecting them all to do 2 stops. Eddie Irvine making his way back after a very short race.
You sure he's not trying to make his way out of the circuit there? I imagine Eddie will not be too pleased, and nor will Jaguar at that first corner incident. But Michael then stretching that lead to, well, actually just a fraction over 1.3 seconds still. On this lap, he's about a 1/10 of a second up. It's Coulthard who's beginning to pile on some fast sector times now, but he's going to have a job leapfrogging that Ferrari of Barrichello's. Michael looking like he's in cruise mode already.
Yeah, it's just a 2.5-mile circuit, riding with Coulthard, starting again.
Yes, a nice overhead shot then. Look, he goes to cover his line. He probably should have been much more aggressive. Barrichello is literally just going to power past down to that first corner. And well, there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. So let's see. I don't think I mean, 3 stopping could well be the fastest way, but if you get caught up in traffic, forget it. So 2 stop is the optimum. A 1 stop costs you another 20 seconds. The only way you do that is if you were towards the middle of the pack. I have a feeling Michelin runners are not coming to the party today, Murray.
No, well, David Coulthard is a long way from giving up. We had Rubens Barrichello do a fastest lap. We're on lap 4 out of 77 now, incidentally. David Coulthard has just replied with a 1:19.6, and that compares with Nigel Mansell's all-time record of 1:18.3. That was way back in 1992 with the all-singing, all-dancing Williams-Renault. And you can see that Coulthard there in the silver and black McLaren, who we are with now, is hanging on to Barrichello in front of him.
Turn 11 then, a little gentle fall down to 12, where Coulthard tore the bottom out of his car in free practice on Friday. That suddenly put him on his back foot through the rest of practice and qualifying, and he's going to be sitting there moaning and hating the fact that he did not manage to get ahead of Barrichello into that, or stay ahead of Barrichello into that first corner. It's going to compromise the rest of his afternoon, no doubt about it.
Well, James Allen, what's the news?
Well, I'm looking at last year's records, Murray, and the McLarens did come in later for their first stops. Hakkinen came in on lap 31 and Coulthard lap 32, whereas Michael Schumacher was in on lap 27. So it's quite possible they are carrying a little bit more fuel, perhaps another 10 kilos. But as Martin was saying, tactically, the advantage has definitely been handed to Ferrari now. David Coulthard did not want Rubens Barrichello in front of him.
Thanks, James. Yes, Michael Schumacher can run his race, undoubtedly. He knows what he's on. He won here in 1994 for Benetton. He won here in 1998 for Ferrari, and he was second last year. So he knows the Hungaro ring. So does Rubens Barrichello, of course, who was 4th last year in his first season for Ferrari. And David Coulthard, he's done well here. He's had a couple of second places, he's had a 3rd place, and the 3 top men are way out front. And there's been all this talk about Mika Hakkinen going off the boil. Well, he started 6th, and he is still only in 6th position. And at the present moment, it looks as though Jenson Button is getting a 10-second penalty.
Yes, some kind of incident at the start. Jenson Button, who is down in 16th position, we're assuming that he jumped the start. He did indeed jump the start, so Jenson Button with a stop-go penalty. Louise is with Eddie Irvine.
I am indeed, Martin. Eddie, was that just one of your do-or-die starts that didn't quite come off?
No, I honestly don't know. The start was bad because I'm on the wrong side of the grid, so I lost the place to Fisichella, then I got on the outside, and I was just going around the outside. Next thing the car snapped sideways. I don't know whether someone hit me or whether I just lost it. I have no idea.
Bad luck.
10 seconds covering the top 6 now. Michael Schumacher has now decided to get the pedal down. He has just gone faster than either Barrichello or Coulthard behind him, and so he's going to start pulling it away a bit. The gap now is some 1.5 seconds between him and his second man, Rubens Barrichello.
There's plenty of time this afternoon if he wants to suddenly put a spurt on, as Häkkinen did here last year. But remember, another little trick that Michael pulled yesterday, he only did 2 flying laps in qualifying, both of which would comfortably have put him on pole position, therefore saving a further 2 sets of those critical 7 sets of tyres he's had to run since qualifying. So we know when he comes in for a pit stop, he will always have the best of the tyres, providing he doesn't get a rogue set or an out-of-balance set, but it usually is worth taking the risk. And now Coulthard, for some reason, just struggling by a 1/10 of a second a lap to hang on to those 2 Ferraris.
4/10 of a second pace between Ralf Schumacher in 4th place and Michael Schumacher, who is leading the race. And already Ralf Schumacher is over 7 seconds in 4th place behind the race leader, Michael Schumacher.
And Button in the pits, out of view of you at the moment. Jenson Button in for his stop and go penalty to add just a little bit more misery to his season. There he is now.
Yeah, poor Jenson. He qualified well down, and he was only 22nd in the warm-up this morning. But nevertheless, Benetton are very, very upbeat. They have a completely new aerodynamic package. They have all sorts of engine modifications. They say things haven't worked. Look at that front wing, very like the Ferrari wing, which has set the model for new front wings this season. But Benetton are much more optimistic about the rest of the season, although Jenson Button hasn't got very much to shout about at the present moment. And his teammate Fisichella is well down the pecking order. He's in 14th place as over the line comes Schumacher, Barrichello, David Coulthard, and we are already in this race over 1/10 distance. 7 laps completed, 77 lap race.
A new fastest lap of the race for Coulthard that time around, a 1:18.975, and the gap down to just 0.8 of a second. Michael, I wonder just how comfortable he is with his car. We know he's been through the gravel trap. Of course, they would have changed the tyres, but you always change the tyres anyway to minimise the risk of a puncture on the outlap, because there have been other races, been a Porsche Super Cup race, for example, and occasionally you do get debris, so they don't risk punctures, so we know he'll be on a better set of tyres anyway. But he is not really stretching away quite as I would imagine, and Barrichello and Coulthard comfortably just keeping him in range.
Yeah, Ralf Schumacher on his own in 4th place. Bit of a ding-dong going on between Jarno Trulli 5th and Mika Häkkinen, who is 6th in the McLaren. Now, you heard Jim Rosenthal say earlier on that if Ferrari can finish 7 points ahead of the McLaren team in this race, they will take the Constructors' Championship. Well, they're on a possible 16 points at the present moment, and McLaren are on a possible 5 points at the moment. But there's a long, long way to go before this race is completed. And as you can see, the top 3 are as much together now as they have been at any time during the race. And Rubens Barrichello starts to speed up.
Yes, he's matched the 18.9 a fraction faster, so they're very evenly matched to the front. Ralf Schumacher not too tardy either. Mika Häkkinen having a bit of a false look down the inside, trying to distract Jarno Trulli 5th, Häkkinen 6th. We're still in grid position, with the exception of Barrichello moving ahead of Coulthard for that 2nd place. But Ralf Schumacher pretty much keeping pace with the leaders, albeit some 5.5 seconds behind David Coulthard.
And Jordan, of course, desperately want Constructors' points. They're only down in 6th position in the Constructors' contest, just 1 point behind the BAR team and 4 points behind the Sauber team. Now, we haven't said anything about the Sauber runners so far, I can tell you, but Nick Heidfeld is the faster of the 2 at the present moment. He's in 7th place in the race where he started on the grid. His teammate Kimi Räikkönen is 9th where he started. Jammed between them is Juan Pablo Montoya, who started 8th and is 8th. So the significant thing about the race so far, in terms of the top 10 or so, is the fact that Rubens Barrichello got ahead of David Coulthard into 2nd place at the start. You've heard us say ad nauseam how difficult it is to pass at the Hungaroring, and you are seeing living proof of it now as Mika Häkkinen sits behind the rear wing of Jarno Trulli's Jordan.
Yes, and he's lapping about 1.5 seconds slower than I think the potential of that car. That's what Coulthard's doing up the front. 2 times a world champion, one of the all-time great Formula 1 drivers, Mika Häkkinen. If he's got an Achilles heel, Murray, it's when he gets buried down the pack a little bit, he doesn't seem always to be able to do anything about it, as Luciano Berti spins out of the race in Prost number 23.
Yeah, Mika, you're quite right, Martin. Mika likes to be out front, and then he is peerless.
If he can just hook that in reverse, I think he's got a better chance of reversing out of there than going forwards. Put it in reverse, and you may just survive for another few laps.
You've got the edge on him because you can see his rear wheels and he can't.
No, that's a fact.
So, no, he's out. He looks as though he's out. And Barrichello is now less than a second behind the leader. As you see here, Jarno Trulli and Pedro de la Rosa.
I think it'll be a Lacey, won't it?
It is, you're right,
a
I'm
Lacey for P13, trying to take P12 away from Pedro de la Rosa. Does he make it stick around the outside into turn 2? I'll be seriously impressed if he does. And well, that was too easy. In no way De La Rosa should have allowed that to happen. Nice move, brilliant move from Alesi. Set him up into turn 1, made it stick into turn 2, and a well-earned 12th position. Yeah, just remember the top 3, who are, of course, Schumacher, Barrichello, Coulthard. Here are the rest. 4th is Ralf Schumacher as Berti walks in. 5th is Jarno Trulli. 6th is Häkkinen. 7th is Nick Heidfeld, just behind Häkkinen. 8th is Montoya and 9th is Raikkonen. 10th is Panis, 11th is Villeneuve. So Panis is doing very well indeed. Jean Alesi, you've just seen, move up into 12th position in his first race in the Jordan, ahead of Pedro de la Rosa, the sole Jaguar left. Giancarlo Fisichella, who is in 14th position. 15th is Jos Verstappen, then it's Alonso, Bernaldi and Frentzen ahead of Marquez, and Button is 20th, and that is about it, with Eddie Irvine out of the race. So the buffer situation with Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard exists. A lot of track between them and 4th place Ralf Schumacher that you just go through. Here's that battle for 5th position between Jarno Trulli and Mika Häkkinen, followed by the Sauber of Nick Heidfeld and Montoya. There is Montoya. That is Kimi Raikkonen. Behind Raikkonen is Olivier Panis. Here is Jacques Villeneuve. And once again, Martin, Olivier Panis is making things very difficult for his 1997 world champion teammate Jacques Villeneuve. Yes, Villeneuve out-qualified Panis, but now already Panis ahead of him in the race, albeit 10th and 11th. Yeah, some 3.5 seconds ahead of him, actually. So Panis continuing to have a pretty good season, actually, and up against such a quality teammate as Villeneuve, that's something impressive.
Michael Schumacher, that fastest lap of 1:18.7, as near as makes no difference, is 0.4 of a second off the all-time lap record put up 9 years ago by Nigel Mansell in, as I've said earlier on, the all-singing, all-dancing Williams, which had just about every aid to management and driving mankind has ever thought of, a lot of which are not allowed anymore. So it's an indication of how the Formula 1 cars have developed over those years. We're on lap 13 now, out of 77, and Michael Schumacher is pulling away. 3.4 seconds is the lead. Rubens Barrichello is still ahead of David Coulthard, just slightly less than a second in it. Lap 13 out of 77 at the Hungaroring, and it is continuing to look very good indeed for Michael Schumacher as his teammate Rubens Barrichello retains second place, and the arrows are there of Enrique Bernaldi is removed from the track. We didn't see him go off, but he obviously went into the gravel trap and out of the race. And now here is Michael Schumacher closing up to lap.
we've seen, I think, 2 significant laps where Barrichello unquestionably slowed down. He's slowed by over a second a lap. Michael put in a couple of real sprinters to move the gap forward to 4.1 seconds. They will be keeping an eye on Coulthard. He's near enough to be a nuisance to Michael Schumacher this afternoon. And of course, they'll be wondering just how much fuel he's got on board. They will know that Coulthard was very fast in the warm-up this morning. Plus, of course, Michael is coming up to traffic. So they've built themselves a gap. A bit of team play going on here now from Ferrari. Michael with a 4-second cushion to give him more comfort through the back markers.
Well, it's certainly turning out to be a character-building year for Jenson Button. He's just been lapped by Michael Schumacher, as has Tarso Marquez, who is in 20th position, 18th position ahead of Jenson Button. And you've seen Benaldi go out of the race, Bertie is out of the race, Irvine is out of the race. So 3 retirements, 19 left, lap 14. Schumacher's lead is increasing all the time, unless going over that gravel track damaged his car in some way, which seems very unlikely from the way he's going. He is looking good.
And Coulthard needs to get intimate with the gearbox of Rubens Barrichello's Ferrari. They're coming up to the 2 back markers, and a good chance for him to hopefully get in the thick of it, and maybe one of his few chances this afternoon of passing that Ferrari. You had a quick flash of Panis there, I think it was, who's currently back in 10th place in the BAR. So Michael Schumacher now 4.4 seconds ahead.
Running report on the World Championship situation. Michael Schumacher has to finish 3 points ahead of David Coulthard to put it beyond his reach, and he is now some 6 points ahead. He's on a potential 10 points, Coulthard is on a potential 4 points, and Barrichello is still between them.
And if my mathematics are correct, Ferrari are on for taking the Constructors' World Championship as well in these current positions. They need just 6 points more than McLaren today to become, once again, the World Constructors' Champions.
Unless I am very much mistaken, Martin, you're absolutely right. I thought it was 7, but it is 7. So 7 points between Ferrari and McLaren, and it will be the Constructors' Championship for Ferrari as well as the Drivers' Championship for Michael Schumacher. But as I said earlier on, it is not over until the winner sees the checkered flag.
You're including tact in 7, aren't you? I'm going to work it out again, I'm sure it's 6.
Michael Schumacher, lap 16, lead 5.3 seconds, and coming towards us now, Ralf Schumacher, who has lapped Tarso Marquez. Well, we expected the BMW-powered Michelin-shod Williams runners not to do as well at the Hungaroring as they have done at other circuits, notably Hockenheim 2 weeks ago Hockenheim at the end of July when Ralf Schumacher won, and of course Canada when Ralf Schumacher won, and Imola where he did the same thing. And that's because of the characteristics of the car and the circuit. And Ferrari have continued developing their car in spite of the fact that they are already working on the 2002 car to replace this one. They want this championship desperately. It matters to them historically, realistically, financially, for the pride of themselves, the pride of Italy. And they're pushing, led by Jean Todt, Rory Byrne, Ross Brawn and Paolo Martinelli, the engine man. And there've even been modifications to the engine for this race, as well as a special aerodynamic package. Here comes the battle for second place, led by Rubens Barrichello, followed by David Coulthard, as the race leader goes into turn 2 and now turn 3.
That 1:18.1, I think, is a new lap record, Murray, isn't it? I think that finally beats the Mansell time of 92. So a new lap record of this circuit then after 16 years of Grand Prix racing here. Michael Schumacher definitely on a charge, and Coulthard was beginning to fall back from Barrichello. He's had to put a spurt on. He too is down in the low 1:18s.
And of course Michael Schumacher is in a glorious rhythm now. He took pole position, he got away first, he's increased his lead all the time, and he's in that delightful position of having the rhythm going, and he's carving his way through the field. And look at it, clear track in front of him, clear track behind him.
And he's half a minute ahead of 6th place man Mika Häkkinen.
Yes, double world champion Mika Häkkinen, the man who won here last year. by taking a magnificent start from third on the grid, going past David Coulthard, past pole position holder Michael Schumacher last year, and Häkkinen controlled the race from the front last year, as Michael Schumacher is doing now. Cloud of dust there.
Yeah, Coulthard running wide in the last turn, goes over the line, still in fact, an absolutely identical time for Barrichello and Coulthard, a 118.587, 2 thousandths of a second. And Coulthard kicking up the dust as he's desperately trying to find a way of getting on the power earlier in the final corner to chase down those two Ferraris.
So how are we going for pit stops? This is lap 18. If Ferrari do the same this year as they did last year, they will be in round about 9 laps from now. The first of them, which would obviously be Michael Schumacher, but we'll have to wait and see. They might be on a different strategy. The McLarens, as we said earlier on, stayed out for another 4 laps last year, and it may well be that they'll do the same and that David Coulthard could potentially take the lead, but then of course it would all change when he had to come in. At least that's the usual theory. But this race is going to depend just as much as all the others have in the past since pit stops began, not just on the car, not just on the driver, but on those mechanics who drill and drill and drill to refuel the cars and replace 4 tyres and wheels. And we must not forget that the fuel rigs recently, and the new ones that were introduced this year, have given a lot of trouble.
Wouldn't surprise me if Barrichello came in earlier than the other 2 stoppers. It would be smart of Ferrari to give him a lesser fuel load. He was on the grippy side of the track behind Michael on the grid, and he had a good chance of beating Coulthard down to that first corner, which is exactly what happened.
As you look at Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari, and the Ferraris are not completely bulletproof in terms of reliability, but for the last few years they have been quite incredibly reliable, whereas that has definitely been the McLaren team's Achilles heel this year. They've had gearbox problems, they've had electronic problems, notably launch control problems, because the drivers don't start the cars themselves nowadays in the conventional way with clutch and gears. They press a button and everything is done for them electronically to a pre-programmed deal. And Michael Schumacher is now closing up on Fernando Alonso, the brilliant young Spanish driver who has only just achieved his 20th birthday, his first season of Formula One. He is in the Minardi, and out of the pits goes Heinz Harald Frentzen in the Prost. Let's not forget that Frentzen has changed teams like Alesi. He came in from 17th position. By the way, Jean Alesi in his first race for Jordan, having got past Pedro de la Rosa when the Spaniard slept a bit on the corner and moved up into 12th position, is now lapping considerably faster than Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR ahead of him. Alesi's last lap was in 1 minute 20 seconds. Villeneuve's last lap was 1 minute 21, sorry, 1 minute 21.3. So Alesi closing up on Villeneuve, but there's an 11-second gap between them. He's got a long way to go. Michael Schumacher continuing to carve his way through the field on lap 21 out of 77, having started from that meteoric pole position, so much faster than the second place man on the grid, David Coulthard, and he's really rubbing in the joint superiority of his car and his ability here at the Hungaroring today. David Coulthard seems to have got the message again. Maybe he is now having a real attack on Rubens Barrichello, because he's just done the fastest first sector of the race. What do I mean by first sector? Well, this circuit, as ever, is split up into 3 parts. The first part goes from the start to turn 4, and the second part goes up to round about turn 12, and then the completion of the lap accounts for the third sector. And they are all individually timed, and the drivers know exactly what is happening because they have an electronic readout on the dashboard, though how on earth they have the time to look at them is beyond me.
Just gives them a plus and a minus, so they pretty much know whether they're up or down. They don't really have time to think about how much, but they get an indicator. And that's more for qualifying, really, than the race. It's obviously relevant or relative performances to the other cars that's more important, as Michael Schumacher laps Giancarlo Fisichella, current 14th place man. And at this rate, before half distance, Michael Schumacher's going to be lapping the likes of Hakkinen and Trulli up there in 5th and 6th positions.
Jenson Button surges through just as Alonso comes out of the pits. And now here is Michael Schumacher closing up on the sole Jaguar left in the race after Eddie Irvine's departure into the gravel trap on lap 1. It's Pedro de la Rosa. And this enables you to compare the comparative performances of the Jaguar with its Ford Cosworth engine and the Ferrari with its Ferrari engine. And the way, look, you see, de la Rosa moves over and lets him through.
Yeah, blue flags are waving. De la Rosa on Michelin's, of course. That's the big difference today, I think, as much as anything, because Michelin, for whatever reason, having been so strong in the previous few races, have not bought a tyre that really bites into this very, very slick racetrack. They've not been able to really bite hold of this particular type of tarmac, and that's why the best Michelin runner, Ralf Schumacher, is now nearly 20 seconds behind his brother Michael in 4th position.
So if Michael Schumacher keeps it up, here is Fisichella out of the pits. He's just completed his sole pit stop. Alonso has been in, Frentzen has been in, Jenson Button has been in. None of the top 13 drivers have yet stopped, but we are getting towards the first of 2 pit stops levels. We're on lap 23 now, and we can expect them to come in 3, 4, 5 laps time.
It's always a scary moment when, as Coulthard was then, you're second man through. So often they don't see you. I got taken out of the Detroit Grand Prix exactly that way once when I was lapping with Alboreto in the Ferrari. We were moving through the field, and so often, and it happens so many times, the driver you're lapping realises there's one car, but if you're really in close formation, he doesn't always know there are 2 of you coming along. Can so often turn in on the second of the 2 cars.
Now, just to tell you how difficult it is to pass here, between the 5th and the 9th men on the track, that's Jarno Trulli, Hakkinen, Heidfeld, Montoya and Kimi Räikkönen, there is just 2.7 seconds. We haven't seen them, but it is a very, very high-speed crocodile.
Michael's playing games. He's just done a 1:17.4, smashing even his new lap record. He's absolutely playing around this afternoon, and just he'll put the spurts in when he has to. He's got it absolutely under control. Only reliability can now stop, or some kind of pit stop problem can now stop Michael Schumacher becoming 4 times world champion.
Yeah, and that fastest lap he's just done was faster than his own pole position time last year. Here's the crocodile I was telling you about. Look at them, absolutely nose to tail. That is Kimi Räikkönen in 9th position. Ahead of him is Montoya in the Williams. Ahead of him is Heidfeld in the Sauber. And ahead of him is Mika Hakkinen. So they're all looking for a way past, but none of them are succeeding in finding it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? 3 of that pack, Murray, have been linked with taking Mika Häkkinen's seat if he decides to retire. So Trulli, Heidfeld and Räikkönen all being strongly linked if Häkkinen decides not to re-up or whatever is going on there at McLaren for next year, and a lot of intrigue around that.
Well, the World Championship, if Michael Schumacher succeeds in staying where he is, really is starting to look like a fait accompli. The situation between David Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher for second in the championship, as you watch Mika Häkkinen pursuing Jarno Trulli, trying, is that Coulthard, of course, in 3rd position, has got an edge over Ralf Schumacher, who's got to get past him and pull away if he is to challenge David Coulthard, second place in the World Championship, and over the line.
Hakkinen has a good position for a good slipstream, but he's absolutely nowhere near by the end of the straight. Well, certainly nowhere near chance to overtake. Had a bit of a wild go, got on the dirty side of the track, and that's what sent Eddie Irvine off in the first corner. Managed to still hold off Nick Heidfeld, but Hakkinen looking increasingly frustrated, quite clearly can lap much faster. They're some 2 to 3 seconds off the leading pace. They're nearly 50 seconds now, this group from fifth downwards, behind the leader. James is in the pits with Montoya.
Well, Montoya is the man definitely to watch in this pack, guys. I was talking to the strategist before the race, and one of the tactics around here at the Hungary ring, if you're a fast car out of position, is to run a one-stop fuel load. As you can see, Jarno Trulli just ducking through the back markers. And if Montoya is doing that today, this has played very much into his hands. He's in this pack, and of course, he has one less fuel stop to make than the guys he's racing against. So keep an eye out for him, because that tactic, if he's done it, will push him up ahead of Jarno Trulli into fourth place in the race.
Yeah, could score him a point or two this afternoon. Sure, I should have said James is with information on Montoya, not actually with him, because as is absolutely clear, he's currently 8th in the race.
Jarno Trulli and Mika Hakkinen 5th and 6th, and nothing the flying Finn, as he signs himself, will enable him at the present moment to get past the flying Italian. Eddie Jordan there and Ian Phillips not too unhappy with what they are seeing, because Jarno Trulli started 5th on the grid. He's retained that position. He's kept Mika Hakkinen behind him. Hakkinen has kept Heidfeld behind him. Heidfeld has done the same with Montoya, and Montoya has done the same thing with Kimi Räikkönen. And Olivier Panis is ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in 10th and 11th places. They started in a reverse situation, because Villeneuve was 10th on the grid and Panis was in 11th place. And in 12th position, Jean Alesi, who has carved his way up into the place where he is now. We're on lap 27 in the 77-lap Hungarian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher is now 12.6 seconds ahead of his teammate Rubens Barrichello, having made the fastest lap on lap 23 out of 77. And let's just enjoy this. Trulli in the yellow Jordan with the Honda engine, Mika Hakkinen in the silver and black McLaren with the Mercedes-Benz engine, followed by the Ferrari-powered car of Nick Heidfeld.
It's strange, isn't it? We've often seen some great qualifying performances from Trulli over the years, and particularly this year, but he always seems to be slightly on his back foot during the race. They tell me the Jordan can eat its rear tyres quite quickly, and they don't seem to give that performance. I don't know if that's true or not, or whether it's Trulli's mindset. We know he's super fit, we know he's super fast, but he always seems to be just slightly under pressure and going backwards rather than going forwards. And I think that really summarises probably why Eddie Jordan has so much frustration that his team haven't delivered their promise this year.
Yeah, but if Trulli can keep it on the track, he's in a point-scoring position, 2 points at the present moment, and the Jordan team are only 1 point behind BAR in the Constructors' Championship, so that would leapfrog them up a place, which Eddie Jordan would very much like. He's had a very, very hard time, as you will have gathered when he was talking to Jim Rosenthal and Tony Jardine in the studio before the race began, in that gap, that holiday gap between this race and the previous one in Germany, as a result of having to negotiate Alesi into his car and negotiate very firmly Heitz Harold Frentzen out of it. Frentzen is in 15th place, Alesi is 12th.
I think I saw Heidfeld just duck into the pits out of that pack. Yes, indeed he has. So Heidfeld, one of the earlier of the two stoppers. Panis in the pits too. We're into the pit stop windows, no doubt about it. So there's Panis, we believe. There's the Ferrari mechanics. They're also getting ready. Who I would have thought it would be Barrichello that's in first. Michael currently, now it's Michael. Schumacher is in first, so there he is. He's 12.8 seconds ahead. Last time past the start finish line, James.
Well, we're looking for something like 7 seconds here on this pit stop. But interestingly, guys, in the last 4 laps, Schumacher has doubled his lead here. So it's been an absolutely astonishing performance by him. Very good indeed as he goes back out in front. But it was the key moment there just before that stop, because on lap 22 he was 7.5 seconds ahead of Coulthard. He was 14.5 before ahead of him when he came in for this stop.
And brand new tyres then on the Ferrari, and Michael rejoining just in front of fourth place, who was fourth place, Ralf Schumacher. In fact, he stays fourth, doesn't he? He has not leapfrogged Michael. Michael will be mighty relieved that he managed to get out just in front of his brother. That's another key element of putting together this afternoon's race for Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, so it means, of course, that Rubens Barrichello leads the race now on lap 29, with David Coulthard into second place. Michael Schumacher has done it absolutely right. Here come Jarno Trulli and Mika Häkkinen, pursued now by Juan Pablo Montoya, who has gained a place as a result of Nick Heidfeld going into the pits. And here is Jenson Button, and he is already a lap down. This is his second stop. Jenson Button has been in before in the Benetton. Here he is exiting the pit lane, making sure he stays inside that white line. Remember how Ralf Schumacher lost out before.
Yes, and Jenson, of course, his first stop of the afternoon was a stop-and-go penalty for jumping the start. But we hear Jordan are also getting ready, so maybe Trulli coming in this time around, and then you'll see Häkkinen get the hammer down for a few laps. And I think if Häkkinen can stay out longer than Trulli, he will surely clear the Jordan up into fifth place.
Rubens Barrichello leads. David Coulthard is second. Michael Schumacher has stopped and is third. Ralf Schumacher is fourth, has not stopped. Trulli is still fifth ahead of Mika Häkkinen. Those are the top six. Montoya is up into seventh. Villeneuve is up into eighth. Jean Alesi is now in ninth position from 12th.
Truly in the pits then, so Häkkinen's got a bit of traffic ahead of him. He'll need to clear that early and then pull out some of his stunning laps, and hopefully we'll pick up Trulli down the pit lane. We do. So fifth place man then, Trulli in towards the Jordan pit. Louise.
Yeah, Jarno making his way into the pit lane. He's actually been desperate to come in for the last couple of laps. He's been reporting that he's having problems with his tyres. The team have been saying to him, no, you've got to stay out. The only way that they're going to keep Mika Häkkinen behind them was by keeping Trulli out on the track in front of him. Give Häkkinen a couple of clear laps, which he will now have, and I think we'll see him going past.
And a disastrous stop for him there, 13-odd seconds. He seemed to be an age getting away. He couldn't get away. The car was not on the ground. That was the reason. The fuel hose was being laid down. It was a very strange stop there for Jarno Trulli. Couldn't see exactly what the problem was.
So here is the new race leader, Rubens Barrichello, pursued by David Coulthard, whose car runs a bit wide there. And now into the pits has come Ralf Schumacher, who was in fourth position. Now we're going to see as streaking through on the inside goes the Ferrari, followed by the McLaren, past the Jordan, and it's still Barrichello, followed by David Coulthard first and second. Ralf Schumacher is out of the pits. What's the situation with Mika Häkkinen? I'm looking to see him come past now.
Häkkinen's done a 1:21.2. He's now 1:19. He crosses the line now, 1:19. But with that desperately poor stop of Trulli's, I think Häkkinen should come out well ahead of Jarno Trulli. Ferrari getting ready again this time around. Clearly, that of course is for Rubens Barrichello. Will McLaren come out into the pit lane? No, they do not. So, leader Barrichello in this time around. That, I would assume, is Villeneuve in there. Yes, indeed it is. Villeneuve in for his stop. Häkkinen, Montoya definitely pushing on now. They've got a bit of clear space now. Trulli is out of the way. Barrichello pulls up to his pit. Let's have a look. The fuel hose slow on there for Barrichello, no doubt about it. Fresh tyres on. Michael Schumacher crosses the line to retake the lead of the Grand Prix. Out comes Jean Alesi from his pit stop too. So Alesi rejoined. He was in ninth position. And here comes Barrichello. Coulthard leads the Grand Prix.
Yes, David Coulthard leading. Barrichello into the pits. Michael Schumacher has gone through. There is Barrichello out, so Michael Schumacher is now back in front of his number 2 in the Ferrari team, and David Coulthard has yet to come in. Now, we're now on the 32nd lap, which is where David Coulthard came in last year. Different car, of course, the fuel capacity, and the engine consumption is by no means necessarily the same.
Fastest man of anybody so far in the race through the first sector. Coulthard on an absolute charge, a reasonable mid-sector, 31.1 seconds, and attacking the entry to the corner heavily. McLaren mechanics in the pit lane. Coulthard taking the widest possible line to maximise his speed before he gets near the speed limiter zone, which is now, take it away, James.
David Coulthard then coming into the pits. This hasn't been the afternoon that he had inspected as he comes into his box, nice and precise. And interestingly, he's putting a fairly used left front tyre and a not so used right front tyre. He's got the engine gunning and he drops the clutch. He's furious and frustrated, but I don't think he really has an answer for the Ferrari onslaught this afternoon.
No, he hasn't. Schumacher has gone through. Now there is Barrichello coming towards us at the present moment as David Coulthard exits the pit lane. Is he going to be ahead? Yes, yes, David Coulthard is ahead of Rubens Barrichello. So a good pit stop for David Coulthard has put him ahead, and he's now sandwiched between race leader Michael Schumacher and the man who has been in second place for most of the race, that man, Rubens Barrichello.
While all that's been going on, Ralf Schumacher in the Williams has, with a new set of tyres, set a new lap record of a 1:17.2, but he's out of the picture quite a long way down in fourth place. But crucial then for Coulthard, he seemed to have a bit of a slipping clutch or something as he pulled away, did not get away particularly cleanly, but the McLaren mechanics were about 1.5 seconds faster. Coulthard's in lap, he was pumping in the red sectors, the fastest of the race, and that is what put him ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Montoya rejoins, he was in sixth when he came in. Does he manage to stay ahead of the two Saubers?
And is David Coulthard going to be able really to get the hammer down now and pull away from Rubens Barrichello and do something about Michael Schumacher in front of him? So it is the two top men in the World Championship now, and this race, as we well know, could be decided here, who are in first and second places. Michael Schumacher leading by a comfortable 14 seconds, with Rubens Barrichello there in third place, just about 2 seconds behind David Coulthard, and showing signs of dropping back. And it's important to establish that whilst they've come in and taken on more fuel and new tyres, it could well be that the new tyres that they've taken on give better performance than the old ones that they were on.
No doubt about that, but they're all in the same boats in that respect, I think, Murray. So it seems as if Coulthard is able to put some clear air quite quickly between himself and Barrichello. And can he pull in that 12-odd second gap that was apparent before the pit stops began, the lead that Michael Schumacher had? Coulthard then on a charge. He can still win this afternoon's Grand Prix. That was a crucial moment for him. Of course, they've all got one more stop yet, so the mechanics are going to come into play.
Yeah, and it's looking much better for David Coulthard in World Championship terms than it was when he was in third place. I remind you, Schumacher, Michael, has got to be 3 points ahead of David Coulthard in this race, on the results of this race, if he's to win the championship. At the present moment, he's 4 points ahead, with a potential 10 points for winning compared with David Coulthard's 6 points. But this is lap 35. It is a 77-lap race. Rubens Barrichello third.
12.6 seconds the gap then, as they've now finished and the computer sorted itself out from the pit stops. 12.6 seconds from Michael Schumacher to David Coulthard, but Coulthard 1.3 seconds faster on the previous lap. James, what can you tell us?
Well, he's putting the hammer down, and isn't it exciting? And I must say, I take it back about McLaren. I said Coulthard didn't have a response today for Ferrari, but the McLaren boys did a sensational job in that pit stop to get him back out in front of you. But just to show you how things can turn, remember Jarno Trulli's stop that you were talking about, Martin? You remember they said it wasn't exactly ideal. He was 5th when he came in to make that stop. He's now dropped down to 10th. So from Schumacher's point of view, he's got one more stop to make. Anything can happen in this motor race, particularly if Coulthard is able to put pressure on him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sure truly a wheel wouldn't go on, or there was some kind of fuel rig problem or something. It was a fuel nozzle problem, we're hearing. So truly then, his chance of point scoring this afternoon looking pretty slim all of a sudden.
Yeah, yet another fuel rig problem. This new design of rig is not at all popular with the teams. I know that Ron Dennis has made some very, very vigorous representations about it. to Charlie Whiting, who is the race director, and it's cost several teams places this year, not just through the nozzle failing to go on properly, but through the rig itself failing to deliver the predetermined amount of fuel that the teams had decided needed to go into their drivers' cars. Well, we'll see. Lap 36 now, getting on towards half distance in this 77-lap race, and you're watching race leader Michael Schumacher as he comes up to the Benetton of Giancarlo Fisichella, or is it Button? Anyway, it's to lap him for the second time. It's Jenson Button.
David Coulthard then took another second out of that lead last time around, down to 11.6. And sixth place man now, Kimi Raikkonen, in those pit stops managed to leapfrog Nick Heidfeld. So Raikkonen now the leading Sauber driver, Heidfeld 7. Montoya didn't really make up as much as I thought he would. He's still down there in 8th place.
Yes, the man who suffered as a result of those pit stops, as James has just pointed out, of course, is Jarno Trulli. Michael Schumacher's retained his lead. David Coulthard has benefited from a better pit stop than Barrichello by moving up from 3rd to 2nd. Ralf Schumacher is still 4th. Hakkinen has moved up from 6th to 8th. And now Kimi Raikkonen, who's passed his teammate, is in the points at 6th position. And we are on lap 37. Worth considering, Martin, that Michael Schumacher that we are looking at is in amongst traffic. David Coulthard is approaching that traffic, so I can't see what Coulthard is facing, of course, because we're looking at Schumacher. But perhaps Michael is being delayed by traffic more than the McLaren driver.
It's possible, but I have a feeling Michael's not quite as happy with the car in this part of the race. But remember, he cruised for a few laps on the first stint before he really put the hammer down. So let's see if Michael's got that ability again this time around. But certainly Coulthard with the faster car at this stage of the race.
Well, Michael Schumacher in last year's race finished in 2nd place. His teammate Barrichello was in 4th position. I'm thinking about the second fuel stops now. Barrichello,
Fisichella, isn't it?
No, it's Jenson Button. Now, well, he's right on the grid, and you come whistling round that last turn at about an approach speed on the apex of 80 miles an hour, and he's out of the car. So Jenson Button is out of the car, out of the race, and they must get that car out of the way. The yellow flags will be waving, and hopefully everything is going to be all right as they clear the Benetton. His teammate Fisichella goes through, pursued by the McLaren. And Giancarlo Fisichella is in 13th position. That's another retirement then. And so out of the race now on lap 38. Eddie Irvine was first out, then Luciano Berti, then Bernoldi, and now Jenson Button.
Marshall's running across the track, which is not smart at all, but no way through the wall there for Button's car. I think they'll just turn it sideways and literally put it up along the inner side of the wall there, and it should be well out of harm's way.
Lap 39 out of the 77-lap Hungarian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher leading, and a major problem for the Benetton of Jenson Button as we look at David Coulthard there in the McLaren in 2nd position. And look at this, there is Jenson Button. He's come out of turn 14, which is the last corner on the circuit. He stalled, spun and stalled the Benetton and can't get it going again. He's out of the car now, and the car has been dragged back as into the pits comes Mika Hakkinen from 5th position. Now, Kimi Raikkonen was some 28 seconds behind. Very, very quick, slick stop. Less than 7 seconds. That's lap 39, and the McLarens have stayed out much longer here this year than they did last year. And we're on lap 39 now, 77-lap race. Schumacher leading David Coulthard by 11 seconds. Coulthard lapping marginally faster, 4/10 of a second, but it's going to take a long time for 4/10 of a second a lap to carve into an 11-second lead as you look at the much-changed Benetton of Button being removed from the circuit.
Yeah, surprising that Jensen would spin off on the exit of a corner with traction control. But a neat solution they've got down there. They've actually opened the wall. They've obviously got a gate in the wall there. So Benetton out of harm's way, no need or any sign of safety cars, all carried out under waved yellows to tell the drivers, slow down, there are marshals on the racetrack, extreme caution, even be prepared to stop. I don't think many of them hurtle into double yellow flag situations with stopping in mind, it has to be said. But there obviously is the Minardi of Fernando Alonso beached.
And you can see how sticky those tyres are when they get heated up. They're quite big stones that have adhered to it as he ran across the gravel track. Interesting situation in the Constructors' Championship now, because I reported earlier on that if Ferrari finished 7 points ahead of McLaren in this race, they would take the Constructors' Championship. That is exactly the situation at the present moment, with Michael Schumacher leading for Ferrari and his teammate Rubens Barrichello in 3rd place, 14 World Champion points, and David Coulthard 2nd and Mika Häkkinen in 5th place. No, Mika Häkkinen's improvement, and he's now gone fastest in the first sector, means that McLaren are just saving the situation by 1 point, but with still 37 laps to go, anything can happen. David Coulthard 2nd, and he's lapping in virtually to the nearest 100th of a second the same time as race leader Michael Schumacher, 11.5 seconds behind him on the circuit. Barrichello is 3rd, Ralf Schumacher still 4th for Williams, Mika Häkkinen up to 5th for McLaren, both McLarens in the points, both Ferraris in the points, one Sauber in the points, Raikkonen who's ahead of Heidfeld, and the others in the top 10 are Montoya, Panis and Trulli, and Louise Goodman is with Jenson Button.
I am indeed. Murray Jensen after the highs at Hockenheim, that was really one to forget, wasn't it?
Yeah. Wasn't the best race in the world. I had a stop-go penalty. Not quite sure why, but there you go. And then I was pushing really hard at the end, well, that part of the race, and the rear of the car just came around. We've been struggling from oversteer, or I've been struggling from oversteer for most of the race, and just pushing a bit hard, and the rear came around, and that was it.
Bit of a scary place to stop.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, was it? But there you go, the car stalled in gear, so I couldn't do anything about it.
Cheers.
Another new lap record for guess who? Well, you're wrong, it's Mika Häkkinen. Mika Häkkinen is really travelling. We're looking at David Coulthard now, and Mika has just gone round in the first lap under 1 minute 17 seconds, 1:16.9. And I reckon with a bit of quick mental arithmetic, that is a speed of approaching 116 miles an hour average around this circuit. And he's still 30 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW, and Schumacher's teammate Juan Pablo Montoya is still in 8th position where he started. He's still behind the two Saubers of Heidfeld 7th and Raikkonen in 6th place in the points again, the brilliant young Finn.
Yes, both McLarens rejoined the racetrack and put in some sensational lap times, and I wonder if Coulthard beginning to pay the penalty for taking too much of that grip that's available early on in a stint, because suddenly Barrichello started homing in on him and he stopped eking into Michael Schumacher's lead and really looking a bit on the ragged edge, trying to maintain this pace, trying to take the race to Ferrari this afternoon. Michael all of a sudden now then again with one of the fastest cars underneath him.
Well, Barrichello may be closing up on David Coulthard, and the living proof of that is before your very eyes as you look at the McLaren and then the Ferrari in 2nd and 3rd places with only a second between them. But to trot out yet another of the inevitable cliches, catching is one thing, passing is quite another. And David Coulthard is going to be very, very determined indeed to hang on to that second place that he must be in order just to keep his World Championship hopes alive. Even that isn't enough at the present moment. He's got to try and improve. And Michael Schumacher is lapping 0.2 of a second faster than the Scotsman you are looking at the present moment. So you're looking at Coulthard now, closing up on the Jordan ahead of him. And that is the Jordan of Jarno Trulli, who suffered so much from that long pit stop he had. The Italian crossing the line, he's in 10th position. And so Michael Schumacher, only the top 8 are on the same lap at the present moment, they being Michael Schumacher, Ferrari, David Coulthard, McLaren, Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari, and Trulli has now been lapped by Coulthard and will soon be lapped by Rubens Barrichello. There he goes, he's through. And so 5th is Mika Häkkinen, 6th is Raikkonen, 7th is Heidfeld, and then Montoya, Panis and Trulli. And only the drivers from Montoya upwards are on the same lap. On lap 44 at the Hungaroring, 33 laps to do at the end of this one. Who is the leader? He is the leader. No, that was Rubens Barrichello. It is still Michael Schumacher who has increased his lead over David Coulthard with a lap 0.8 of a second faster than the Scotsman, as you can see, is in traffic, and Schumacher now leads Coulthard by over 12 seconds.
Yeah, Coulthard came out of the pits like a greyhound, but now he looks like he's paying the price for punishing those tyres too early. But Michael Schumacher then becomes the most leading Grand Prix driver of all time. He's led more Grand Prix laps. He needed 41 of them today. He's now led 44. So another milestone pass. Can he match Prost 51? I think it's also he'll be most leader in terms of distance as well as laps a little bit later on in this race.
Well, he's certainly going to be the man with the mostest on nearly every count. The only one that is going to be denied him before very much longer is the incredible record of the late and very great Ayrton Senna for pole positions. He had 65 of them, and Michael Schumacher's pole position for today's Hungarian Grand Prix was 41. I mean, that is a quite stupefying achievement. And so we're on lap 46 now, and I've said earlier on that the Ferraris are famous for their reliability. The McLarens this year have been infamous for their lack of reliability for all sorts of reasons. Electronic reasons, launch control reasons, gearbox reasons, suspension reasons, certainly not the sort of thing that you expect from McLaren, and it's undoubtedly cost David Coulthard races. Admittedly, he's won already this season in Brazil and in Austria, but he could have done better, and probably the same applies to Mika Häkkinen. Although he's still languishing, he's still in 5th position and showing no signs of improving. Any views on Häkkinen retiring?
I've no idea, Mario. No more than anybody else. You have to read something into the fact that McLaren haven't announced their drivers for next year at this time. Clearly, I know a bit about one side of the McLaren garage. I know nothing about the other side. And there's no smoke without fire, and something must be going on. I think we'll have to wait to find out exactly what that is.
Well, the battles that we're looking at now are in the Constructors' Championship. Sauber is doing extremely well because they've got Kimi Raikkonen in the points, and Sauber are in 4th position in the World Championship ahead of BAR and Jordan. I was saying earlier on that if Trulli could stay in his 5th position where he was at the time, it would mean that the Jordan team would move up ahead of BAR in the Constructors' Championship. Well, that hasn't happened because Trulli is down in 10th position as a result of that awful pit stop. And Panis is ahead of him, but admittedly not in the points. Interesting things about this race are that Olivier Panis in 9th place is ahead of his much vaunted teammate, world champion of 97, Jacques Villeneuve, by 2 places. Jarno Trulli down in 10th place is just 2 places ahead of his new teammate, Jean Alesi, who is soldiering on in 12th position. And Alesi's priority in this event, having come from the Prost team using Ferrari Acer engines and Michelin tyres, and you're looking now at Giancarlo Fisichella in 14th place in the pits.
6th place man, Raikkonen also, and there's a drama. Goes to pull away and has to stop. I think the left rear wasn't some kind of drama with the left rear. I thought I briefly saw there, but Raikkonen in from 6th place as well. So Fisichella was down in 14th before that pit stop. This man, Ralph, is in 4th place. The man behind him, Häkkinen, has got the pace to win this race if only he hadn't started 6th on the grid. Häkkinen over a second a lap faster than anybody else for the last few laps, and really on a charge in 5th place at the moment, but of course 52.5 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, it won't do him much good, of course, because even though he is going so much quicker, he's still over 21 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher, although he's gaining on the Williams BMW. Things are looking very solid at the front now on lap 48 out of 77 in Hungary. Temperature has actually gone down quite a lot. It's gone down about 4 degrees since the race began. Bridgestone said in a rather hurt way after the German Grand Prix that they didn't think that people's view that they had a poor hot weather tyre was justified. Bit of debris flying off the back of Raikkonen's car, bit of car flying off the back of Raikkonen's car on that replay. And Bridgestone seem to be proving here, with Michael Schumacher there leading the race, David Coulthard 2nd, Barrichello 3rd, that their tyre for the very hot conditions at the Hungaroring is not to be sneezed at. The top Michelin runner is Ralf Schumacher. He is in 4th place. The 2nd Michelin runner is Montoya, who is 7th.
Who's about to be lapped. Schumacher then homing in on 7th place man Montoya, and it's just a 78-second lap here, of course, so it's not unusual for a lot of lapping to go on. Montoya being extremely courteous. He's not really in a race, is Montoya at the moment, although he was only 3 or 4 seconds behind Heidfeld, but being very, very courteous to race leader Michael Schumacher, who's still maintaining a 12.7 second lead over David Coulthard.
You're absolutely right about Häkkinen. He's doing it again. He's already made the fastest lap of the race, 1:16.8 on lap 48. And it looks as though his current lap is going to be a very quick one too. Now, I was saying earlier on that because the tyres are individually made, you can literally get one set giving a better performance than the other. That's the only thing I can think of at the moment that's beneficially affecting him.
Absolutely, and the tyres do vary. It's a chemical reaction between the rubber and the racetrack, and they're not all, as hard as they try, absolutely identical. James is in the pits.
Yeah, the second stops, guys, coming up in the next 5 to 8 laps. Now, it's worth remembering that Rubens Barrichello pitted 2 laps before David Coulthard. It's really going to come down to fractions of a second in the pit stop as to whether Rubens or David comes out ahead this afternoon. We've just seen a second ago Kimi Raikkonen coming in from 6th place. It took him almost 10 seconds to make a pit stop, and he's lost ground. We saw it before with Trulli. It can happen.
Look at Trulli. Incidentally, you see an auxiliary rear wing just behind the camera at the top of the car. Several teams have got extra aerodynamic aids at the Hungaroring because downforce is what you need. Williams have got quite a large extra rear wing. McLaren have got a very small extra rear wing. And Williams have also got a higher secondary wing. Any little extra bit of pressure you can get forcing the tyres down on this slippery track is very welcome.
We've got a reverse situation here from the first set of pit stops where Coulthard is now under pressure from Barrichello rather than the other way around, and it's all going to be a question of can he stay in front this time instead of can he leapfrog. Coulthard definitely struggling in the second half of this stint, the middle stint of the race, of course, and Barrichello able to keep within 7/10 of a second. Montoya in for his second stop.
Scrubbed set of tyres, I see. Those have been used before. It improves the performance. And off goes a tear-off. The drivers have over their transparent visors auxiliary flexible ones, which they can rip off when they get bits of rubber or dirt sticking to them to improve their vision. And Rubens Barrichello's vision is very clear about who is in front of him as in comes the BAR.
I think I saw the front of the car being dropped there a little bit too early. It is Villeneuve who is in the pits, of course. He was in 10th place, so Villeneuve rejoins. I wonder if there's a cloud come over or something, because all of a sudden everybody's lapping quite a bit faster, so I would imagine temperatures are just falling away a little bit, and they're finding some good mechanical grip from this racetrack.
It's only 34 degrees now.
I know, but there's something's happened out there, because everybody suddenly started pumping in 17s where they were doing 18s, or 18s where they were doing 19s.
It's amazing how just what seems quite a small temperature change can beneficially affect the performance of the cars. And you're looking now at David Coulthard, second place, coming out of the last corner before Rubens Barrichello. David's already had a couple of second places this year, of course, in Australia and at the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. Rubens Barrichello's had even more second places. He's had 3 of them at the Malaysian Grand Prix and at Monaco, and the last race, which was the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. So, closing on David Coulthard's car, and Mika Häkkinen continues to go faster and faster, but he's still 15 seconds behind 4th place Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, let's have a look at the scraps. This is the best one. Barrichello 9/10 behind Coulthard. Häkkinen just 13 seconds behind 4th place man Ralf Schumacher. Then we go down to Panis 8th, Montoya 9th. Where there's just 1.4 seconds between them. Not too many other fights on the racetrack this afternoon. And the Ferrari mechanics in the pit lane. Last time around, Michael Schumacher pitted first. 11.9 second lead at the moment. Häkkinen just doing yet another new lap record, a 1:16.723. And there is Michael Schumacher. Again, we're looking for something sub 8 seconds for a perfect one, but they don't need to rush. They can just be calm. Michael's calm on the throttle. He's not blipping it. He's keeping it all calm. And did he get away? We cut away, but did he get away? Yes, he is. I can see him out of the window now. Michael Schumacher just very calmly pulling away. He knows he's got enough in his pocket to maintain the lead once the others have all made their second stop. And again, he just makes it out in front, crucially, of 2 more cars, so he will not have a slow out lap.
Yeah, Kimi Räikkönen, he's just ahead of him. And of course, David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello have gone through, so again David Coulthard is leading the Hungarian Grand Prix. That is 4th place man Ralf Schumacher. So all the top men now have made their stops, second stops, except of course significantly David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello. Michael Schumacher has been in, Ralf Schumacher has been in. The order on lap 53 out of 77 at the present moment is Coulthard, Barrichello, Michael Schumacher that you are looking at. Look at all the rubber crumb on the circuit there. We call them marbles, and they can be very, very slippery indeed and take the car off if you hit them at the wrong place. So the crucial thing now is, can David Coulthard... There is Barrichello. Right.
James, take it away.
Well, we're looking for something, as you say, about sub 7 seconds. It's going to be very, very marginal indeed as to who comes second today. It's not really that great. So Coulthard has a window of opportunity. Can he take it?
Well, Barrichello, that 8.5 second stop may decide the place.
Yes, and Coulthard on that very same lap did his fastest of the race, a 1:17.0, and this could be crucial with, I think I'm hearing there's a Williams off. Yes, there
Montoya.
is. Montoya off for the second time today. The first time around, he got away with it easily. This time around, it looks like he hasn't fared so well. Panis has passed him. But I see McLaren in the pit lane. It will surely be for Coulthard. Hakkinen is on a completely different strategy, and this, I think, is going to decide second place this afternoon. Coulthard on a very hot in-lap as well. A good first sector. He's lost half a second in the mid-sector to the best of the afternoon. Not too bad. He'll take a wide, sweeping line into that long but tight right-hander. Squirt now down. He's looking for that white line now, and he can already see somebody in the pit lane with his lollipop, James.
It takes just 3.5 seconds to change the wheels. It's the fuel that takes the time. 50 kilos of it need to go in, and anything under 8 seconds should hand the lead. Roaring on the throttle, David Coulthard. It's not great. The release didn't come off. Where's Rubens Barrichello?
There is Michael Schumacher. It's going to be mighty, mighty close. There is Rubens Barrichello on the right. There is David Coulthard on the left. And the Benetton is in front. And Barrichello's going to do it. Yes! Barrichello goes through into second place. David Coulthard has lost out as a result of that sticky fuel nozzle.
Yeah, the fuel nozzle wouldn't come off, would it? And Coulthard could not get away. That has cost him second place at the moment. Barrichello moves crucially 2 places nearer to him, 2 points nearer to him in the World Championship as well, if they stay like this. And also Ferrari will take the Constructors' World Championship this afternoon, all on a sticky fuel nozzle.
Yeah, and if that happens, let me just make this point, that if Michael Schumacher takes the World Championship, it will have been with 4 races still to go: Belgium, Italy, America and Japan. When the great Nigel Mansell did that in 1992, there were still 5 races to go. I wish not to detract from Schumacher's performance, if he performs it, because we're on lap 55 now. There's still 22 laps to go, but it's a point that's worth making as you look at third place, David Coulthard, and Barrichello has regained that second place that he held for so long and lost on the previous pit stop, which means to say that Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, Schumacher leads, Barrichello second. McLaren's are third and fourth now, because as a result of the pit stops, Mika Häkkinen is now up into fourth place, but he is 7.8 seconds behind his teammate David Coulthard and has yet to make his second stop.
Yes, he stopped late. They could have put him on a one-stopper, but I think he only stopped for 6.8 seconds, did Häkkinen, so I am expecting him to have to come in again before the end of the race. So Ferrari 1-2, McLaren, Coulthard and Häkkinen 3 and 4. Ralf Schumacher just about holding station back in 5th. Heidfeld is now the leading Sauber driver. They've been swapping around all afternoon, and Jarno Trulli once again out of the motor race.
Oh dear, Eddie Jordan is going to be down, down, down in the dumps, because yet again Jarno Trulli retires from the Grand Prix. That's the 5th time he's done it this year. He's going to be a very unhappy man, but not possibly as unhappy as his team boss. The only Jordan left in the race now, as you watch Jarno Trulli coasting in, is Jean Alesi, who is now in 10th position.
And Alesi hasn't pitted yet, amazingly, so Alesi obviously filled his car up at the start of the race. Most cars have pitted twice. Alesi, according to the computer, and I don't recall seeing him, has not pitted at all this afternoon, and we see the McLaren mechanics getting ready for Häkkinen. Häkkinen then in for his second stop from what was 4th place. He had a 17.9 second advantage over Ralf Schumacher. This is going to be nip and tuck. I'm assuming Ralf will maintain that position. He does. He passes our window. Ralf maintains 5th position, but Häkkinen getting ever closer after losing all that time earlier in the race, and so nearly connecting there with Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Yeah, well, there's a theory, Martin, that the transponder has fallen off the Jordan of Jean Alesi, and that we therefore don't know that he made his pit stop. I remember actually Jean one year in the Benetton when he just blithely drove on for lap after lap, with Flavio Briatore and Nick Worth and everybody practically lying across the track to tell him that he got to come in, and he eventually ran out of fuel. Now here is the McLaren of Mika Häkkinen just getting out of the pits alongside Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who will have got a shot. Remember how Heinz-Harald held up David Coulthard yesterday?
Yeah, and we said he was gormless, but that was a very good stuff from Frentzen there, no doubt about it, to be heading into that corner, hanging on to a Prost, and able to leave enough room for a recovering Häkkinen rejoining after his pit stop was good driving from Frentzen and very fair.
Lap 58 out of 77. Here are the retirements in the order of retirement. Eddie Irvine out, Jaguar. Luciano Berti out, Prost. Bernaldi out, Arrows. Button out, Benetton. Alonso out, Minardi. 17 out of the 22 starters are left. Tasso Marquez is last in the Minardi. He has been lapped 4 times, top 10. Lap 58. Schumacher 9 seconds ahead of teammate Barrichello, who is 1.7 seconds ahead of McLaren's David Coulthard. 4th is Ralf Schumacher, Williams BMW, where he's been virtually the whole race. 5th is Mika Häkkinen, so he's gone down a place. 6th is Nick Heidfeld, and that means to say that Sauber are yet again in World Championship points position. And Kimi Räikkönen is 7th, Montoya is 8th, Panis is 9th, and 10th position is Jacques Villeneuve. So 2 Ferraris in the top 2 places. 2 McLarens, 3rd and 5th. That means to say, we'll say again, Michael Schumacher looking very, very, very good for his 4th World Championship and his 51st race win to equal the record of the great Alain Prost, and Ferrari looking good for the Constructors' Contest.
These pair are only 8 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, but I don't think that's any indication of a problem for Michael. I think he's really just been pacing himself almost from the get-go this afternoon. But Barrichello and Coulthard really chasing each other so hard, they've really kept within striking distance of Michael.
You can see that rear wing. Oh no, you can't, because they've moved away. Yeah, the people say that if there's any good luck going, that Michael gets it. You know, he was lucky when he went across that gravel track just as he was coming up to the grid, that he didn't do some pretty serious damage to the underside of the car.
Yeah, he is famous for spinning off and not ever hitting anything and somehow or other getting away with it. But, you know, you make your own luck totally without any doubt. And a good driver and a good Formula One car always somehow spin down the middle of the track. And we're seeing Panis out of the window here, coasting into the pits and out of what was 9th place. So Olivier Panis then apparently out of the race in the BAR, and that promotes Villeneuve up to 9th and Jean Alesi into the top 10 for Jordan.
Yeah, at the present moment, talking Drivers' Championship, Rubens Barrichello is 7 points behind David Coulthard in 2nd place in the championship, but he's gaining 2 of those points if he can stay ahead of him in this race. You were talking about payback time between Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello if Schumacher clinches the championship here, Martin. And it could well be that the contest then, as far as Ferrari are concerned, having won the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship, will be to get Barrichello ahead of Coulthard in the Drivers' Contest.
Yes, I think that will clearly be Ferrari's coup de grace, no doubt about it, in the final stages of the World Championship. If I was... I don't think if I was Barrichello, I'd accept the gift of a race win. I think that's the
You'd turn it down, would you?
You know, I would. I have to say, I would not accept that gift, because all it's doing is saying, look, I'm so much faster than you. I'm just finally going to have to give you a race. That's a painful one, and we saw Senna do that to Berger, and I just think it was. Unless it's absolutely in team play, I think it's a different scenario.
Oh, you're a better man than I am, Gungadin. Lap 61 out of 77. There are 7.5 seconds between the 2 Ferraris. Barrichello continuing to lap marginally quicker. As you look now at Ralf Schumacher, who has been caught by Mika Häkkinen. Now this is the battle for 4th place, and Häkkinen's previous lap was 2.3 seconds faster than the Williams BMW. Is Ralf Schumacher in trouble?
I think he's just struggling a bit with the car this afternoon, and Häkkinen, as we've said earlier in the race, has been absolutely flying. Häkkinen had the equipment today to win the race, by the looks of it. I've been watching probably 20 or 30 of his lap times this afternoon, and he's been absolutely flying. Once he got clear of Trulli earlier on in the race during when Trulli pitted for the first time, and since then he's been screaming around the racetrack, and this is the net result. He's caught Ralf Schumacher, but can he do anything about it? 4/10 he was behind. You can see that gap for yourself, and he appears to have a much, much faster car.
Not going to be enough for McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, even if he gets past Ralf Schumacher, though. But he's certainly trying, and Ralf knows exactly what to do with the motor car. I've told you many times in this race already how difficult it is to pass at the Hungaroring, and Ralf Schumacher is going to make it doubly difficult for Mika Häkkinen. He'll see the distinctive McLaren and the distinctive blue helmet with the white circular band of Mika Häkkinen behind him, and he'll know what he's got to do to keep him behind. And it's perfectly legal, incidentally. You can take whatever line you like if you are in front, provided you do not weave consistently across the track. And the leaders now, Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard, with 9 seconds covering the three of them, are on lap 62, 15 laps to go in this 77-lap race, as you watch the battle between Ralf Schumacher and the Williams BMW, the top Michelin runner, and Mika Häkkinen for that 4th position and the 3 World Championship points that go with it. Nick Heidfeld is still in 6th position for Sauber. They've had so many points places this year, and now they're getting another one. A complete turnaround for the Swiss team.
Problem here for Häkkinen is, as at so many other races this year, that Williams has sensational straight line speed, and even in this very short and twisty racetrack, they're 6 or 7 kilometers per hour faster down the straight, so that's going to be a major stumbling block for Häkkinen. He's going to have to hustle him in the corners, force him into some kind of error. So we have then Mika Häkkinen's McLaren chasing down Ralf Schumacher's Williams, and some 30 seconds up the road, Coulthard is still fighting hard with the Ferrari of Barrichello. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher serenely up front, but by only 7.5 seconds now.
Yeah, well, Williams have had 15 retirements from 24 starts so far this year. But both cars are still running at the Hungarian Grand Prix, with, as you can see, Ralf Schumacher in 4th place. You can't see Montoya, but he is still there in 8th position, albeit having been lapped once. And so hopefully, from their point of view, they have overcome the reliability bogey, and they're going to be very, very much a threat for next year. We've got so used over the recent years to Ferrari and McLaren dominating the championship, after Williams had done so for so long. But now that Williams have got this BMW power and the Michelin tyres, they fought back brilliantly, and they're going to be a major threat for the year 2002. It's a wonderful prospect for next year. Ferrari versus McLaren versus Williams. Ralf Schumacher getting very nearly to be the equal of his great brother, who's now on lap 64. 13 laps to go between Michael Schumacher and his 4th World Championship to match Alain Prost, and have been beaten only by one man in the history of Formula One, Juan Manuel Fangio, who won the World Championship for Maserati, for Mercedes-Benz, for Alfa Romeo and for Ferrari. An amazing achievement. And he did it all between 1950 and 1957. And now, look at Häkkinen. I'm pushing, I'm coming through. No, you're not, says Ralphie.
I have a feeling this one might end in tears this afternoon. Häkkinen has lost 2 seconds a lap now behind Ralf Schumacher. He will not take any further places. This is his only trophy of the afternoon, because, as I said, Coulthard and co another half a minute down the road. But Häkkinen, having had a difficult afternoon, will take a lot of pleasure from getting past that Williams, and he's certainly got the much faster car, particularly under braking, and it's just tempting him to have a stab.
Well, he's certainly not lacking commitment now. There have been people who've been saying 2 championships behind him, Mika Häkkinen has lost the will to win. Well, he certainly hasn't done that. He might have gone off the boil very slightly, but he's certainly pushing very, very hard indeed now. And if he can get past Ralf Schumacher, it's going to make 1 point difference in the Drivers' Championship for him, which is neither here nor there, because Häkkinen is way down in 15th position at the present. Sorry, Häkkinen is way down in 5th position with 19 points at the present moment. But he's keeping going. Lap 65 for Michael Schumacher, Ferrari. What's happening behind? Well, it's no battle between Heidfeld and Raikkonen. There's 11 seconds behind them for 6th and 7th places. The man to watch at the present moment is Jean Alesi. Can he do anything about Jacques Villeneuve? Alesi's going to be in the top 10 in his first race for Jordan in Formula One, but it doesn't look as though he's going to be able to improve beyond that.
Now, we haven't seen him on the TV pitting, but Alesi has surely pitted somewhere. And interestingly, his sector times are not changing. So, for whatever reason, the computer's not recording John Alesi, although they're getting his overall lap times. They're not getting any sectors, and they're certainly not clocking him coming in the pit, because it's showing him has not pitted yet. But clearly he has, as Häkkinen pours more relentless pressure onto Ralph. But Ralph's an old enough hand these days to be able to sustain most of that, accepting his car really does look rather a handful.
So, what about Benetton when they came here with that improved engine package, that improved aerodynamic package that they were so optimistic about and still are? Well, Jenson Button retired a long, long time ago. Giancarlo Fisichella is still soldiering on. He's in 12th position, which is about where he's been finishing in most of the races, perhaps one or two places higher so far this season. So now, this is where Ralf Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen are going to have their eyes peeled, because they're closing up on the car in front to lap it. And if there is even a momentary balk, this could give Mika Häkkinen his opportunity to get past Ralf Schumacher, as Nigel Mansell did to Senna when they came up to Stefan Johansson's Onyx in 1959. But Schumacher, Ralf, will be just as conscious of that situation as Häkkinen is, and the car they are approaching, of course, is Fisichella's Benetton in 12th position, 2 laps down.
I was born in 1959. I think it was a touch later than that, Murray, but we're hearing that Frentzen is off the road in his first race for Cross Grand Prix. We haven't seen it yet, but Heinz-Harald Frentzen has stopped somewhere in the final sector.
And the producer is very sensibly staying with Ralf Schumacher in 4th position and Mika Häkkinen in 5th place, because really this is the battle on the circuit at the present moment. We're coming down to the closing stages of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello just over 6 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard virtually tucked up behind his wing, because he's considerably less than a second behind Barrichello now. And out there is Frentzen's car. So, of the two major people who changed teams, Frentzen to Prost and Alesi to Jordan, that is the first retirement, with Frentzen out in the Prost. Very, very difficult, of course, for a driver. It's quite noticeable that Fisichella is staying well ahead of Ralf Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen. They're closing now. It's going to be very, very close indeed at the end of this lap. And Mika Häkkinen will be getting as close as he possibly can to Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, Häkkinen absolutely giving it plenty, isn't he? He really wants that 4th place this afternoon very badly. You're right, Murray, they're only sort of slowly homing in on Fisichella. Fisichella already having received at least 3 or 4 blue flags. Will he just blend off the throttle, let them through? Yes, indeed, he will. But Häkkinen, therefore, loses another opportunity to somehow find a way past that Williams.
And still, if you're a Ferrari fan and you're worried about what is happening up front, I can tell you you've got nothing to worry about, because Michael Schumacher, knowing exactly what the score is being kept in touch with things by radio. There is his teammate behind him in 2nd place. That scarlet car is the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello, and David Coulthard has now got quite a bit of air between him and the car ahead. He's still in 3rd position though, but he's seeing his chances of the World Championship slip away.
Good drive this afternoon from Barrichello, I think, Murray. He stayed in touch with Michael Schumacher. I mean, he would have been very embarrassed to be 0.8 of a second slower in qualifying, but he's pretty much stayed in touch through the race and certainly kept Coulthard honest, and then made Coulthard pay for that fuel nozzle problem when he regained second place that he took on his way to the first corner of the first lap. This then still the fight for 4th and 5th position, down to just 0.3 of a second according to the stopwatch, but it looks closer than that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting the way things have ebbed and flowed over the years with the constructors. I mean, we started off with Alfa Romeo dominating things, Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz, Lotus, Cooper. They have all been at it, but at the present moment, it's very much Ferrari in charge. So how difficult is it, Martin, if you're in Rubens Barrichello's position with David Coulthard right behind you and Ralf Schumacher with Mika Häkkinen right behind you to keep them behind you?
Well, you just have to concentrate and make sure you don't outbrake yourself. Don't give them too much attention. You've got to be aware of where they are, and they can try to distract you, of course. But you've got to keep a calm head. Easier said than done, but at this stage of their careers, they shouldn't be snatching breaks or missing braking points. It doesn't happen, really, or shouldn't happen, but occasionally, just occasionally, something will happen and you'll just edge into a corner by 2 or 3 metres too late on the brakes and boom, you're off the road.
Yes, it's interesting that David Coulthard is the comparative novice in this top 4. This is his 120th Grand Prix, and Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher have both done over 150. Rubens Barrichello getting on towards 150, because nowadays there are 17 Grand Prix in every World Championship season. When Formula One started in 1950, there were only about 8 races in the season, and they were virtually all European. But look how international it is now. We go to Brazil, we go to Malaysia, we go to Australia, all over Europe. There's the American Grand Prix coming up at the end of September. The season will end in Japan at that fabulous circuit at Suzuka. And it looks as though the championship is certainly going to be decided by then, with Michael Schumacher now well out on the 71st lap. He's doing himself and Ferrari proud. Out goes Giancarlo Fisichella. That's 2 retirements for the Benetton team. Button long gone from the race after 36 laps. Giancarlo Fisichella looks as though he's spun off. Well, the fat lady must be in the wings now, warming up her voice box to start singing, because it is very near the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix, with Michael Schumacher on his 71st lap out of 77, and he's keeping that lead of about 7 seconds. You're watching him now as he dives inside the Jordan of Jean Alesi, the only one left now. He's in 10th place and he's been lapped. And Michael Schumacher is maintaining that 7-second lead over his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who's having to fight very, very hard indeed to keep the Mercedes-Benz powered McLaren of David Coulthard, the championship contender, clear. And he's succeeding. So Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, and it's still no change in 4th position, with Ralf Schumacher, who's been there for virtually the whole race. However, the battle between Ralf Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen, and then as in comes the McLaren.
That's strange, isn't it? So clearly can't be a scheduled stop. Häkkinen, maybe they didn't get enough fuel in or something last time around. Häkkinen in the pits, and yes, they're going to give him a quick splash and dash. Clearly they didn't quite get enough fuel in on his last stop, and that's taken away any excitement of can Häkkinen pass Ralf Schumacher for 4th place. What a shame. He's not going to lose any places, because Heidfeld is a lap down and 48 seconds behind But great shame there for us and for Mika Häkkinen.
I wonder if that's another fuel rig problem, Martin. There have been so many of them. Incorrect delivery of fuel this season.
Well, we're just looking at the 2 stops that he's done this afternoon. One was 6.8, the other 6.6 seconds. They are absolutely on the limit, and it seems like over the limit. They did not, it appears, get enough fuel, and they'll know after the car's gone out, they'll know exactly how much they got in.
Well, if it's McLaren, it's a very, very unusual mistake for as mature a team as that to make. As out of the pits now goes Olivier Panis in the BAR. That was an unexpected stop. He's been working on the car because I thought he was coming out of the race, actually. He's been lapped a long, long time ago. Jacques Villeneuve, incidentally, is in 9th place.
It's been an afternoon of fuel rig, hasn't it, for McLaren? Häkkinen, not necessarily a fuel rig problem, not getting enough fuel in, it would appear, at least anyway. And Coulthard then, the sticky fuel hose nozzle not coming off the car when he needed it to do so, to just sneak back out in front of this man, Barrichello. And since that's happened, really, they've been absolutely evenly matched on lap times, really. Barrichello not able to pull away, Coulthard not able to close down, and Michael just cruising into turn 1, isn't he? And they are his 2 pursuers, with Jean Alesi, I would guess, in between them.
Yeah, Alesi in 10th position is about to be lapped by Barrichello 2nd and Coulthard 3rd. Jean sees them in his mirrors, politely moves over. As I said earlier on, what the French Sicilian is going to be doing in this race is get some race mileage under his belt. The McLaren, the Jordan was a closed book to him when this race began, but he's now got to grips with it, and he'll be a man to watch in future events.
Yeah, but if you cruised up to Jean Alesi on Thursday, Murray, and said, "John, nice to see you're going to get lapped twice on Sunday," he would have thumped you.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, at least he's going to finish the race, it looks, which is more than the man Hans-Harald Frentzen, who went from Jordan to Prost, changing roles with Alesi, has been able to do. We're on lap 74 now, and these laps are taking, well, the quickest lap that we've had this afternoon was that 1 minute 16.7 of Mika Häkkinen on the 51st lap, and Panis is now definitely out of the race as Michael Schumacher there in the Ferrari starts his 75th lap. He's on the 75th lap now. There is the battle for second with Barrichello in the 2nd Ferrari, David Coulthard. So Michael Schumacher has got the lap that he's on now and 2 more of these 2.5-mile laps at the Hungary to do. There is 7 miles, less than that now, between Schumacher and his 4th World Championship since he first drove for Eddie Jordan's team in 1991.
And what's even more amazing than that, really, Murray, is he missed a couple more by the skin of his teeth in the final round by a point or 2. You know, we could easily be looking at Michael Schumacher's 6th World Championship this afternoon had fate played a slightly different hand. And of course, then he broke his leg a couple of years, 2 or 3 years back as well, where there was another championship chance out of the window. So Michael Schumacher, really, it's 4 championships, probably don't even really describe fully his dominance of the championships.
Absolutely true, and let's just underline the significance of his achievement, assuming that he gets there. But he will have won 4 World Championships to match the great Alain Prost. You saw me talking to him before the programme began, and when I asked Alain Prost how his feelings would be, he said, well, I will not be happy, but Michael Schumacher is very good. So he'll be matching Prost. He'd be only 1 shy of Juan Manuel Fangio in a situation where Michael Schumacher is going on for years. And he will have matched Alain Prost's record number of Grand Prix victories at 51. He's going to be very close to Alain Prost's record number of points scored in a Grand Prix career, 798.5. He's going to be the first man in the history of Formula One to win 2 World Championships for 2 different constructors. And as I say, it goes on and on and on. This superlatively fit man, and another of the incredible aspects of his career is that he's done it mostly in cars which have not been as good as the competition. The Ferrari is arguably the best car this year, but not by very much if it is. But in previous years, it most certainly has not been. So 75 laps completed by Michael Schumacher, almost 76 laps completed, 76 laps completed now. Michael Schumacher is on his way on the last lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix to rewrite Formula One history. Championship number 4 coming up, leader Michael Schumacher, final lap, car, Ferrari. And it's going to be a Ferrari second place unless David Coulthard can do something absolutely incredible in the closing stages of the last lap, which will mean to say that it will not only be Michael Schumacher world champion as he was last year, as he was in 94, as he was in 95 for Benetton, but it will mean that Ferrari have won the Constructors' World Championship as well. Not for the first time recently, not for the second time recently, but for the third time in succession. And Michael Schumacher comes out of turn 11 in 14 into turn 12. 13 is coming up now. It's a 14 corner lap. And Michael Schumacher goes into that last corner for the last time at the Hungarian Grand Prix. He exits the corner, he crosses the line. Michael Schumacher wins. Michael Schumacher is world champion. Barrichello is second. David Coulthard is third. And Ferrari are Constructors' World Champions. And Michael Schumacher, as ever, is absolutely euphoric. Brilliant!
That's Ralf Schumacher then, still heading around towards the end of the lap. He, of course, will be fourth, confirming Häkkinen did manage to regain the track in fifth after that splash and dash. But a 1-2 for Ferrari, which nicely underlines Michael's 51st Grand Prix victory. Barrichello suitably pleased with himself, and I think so he should be this afternoon. Ralf then round the last corner. Best of a bad job this afternoon, I think. Really didn't have the car underneath him for whatever reason, but nonetheless, 3 World Championship points for Ralf Schumacher. He won't be on the podium, which will be a shame for him, to support his brother's 4th World Championship. To Häkkinen then, 5th place man. Curious afternoon for Häkkinen, but certainly showing plenty of speed when he had some clear air in front of him and plenty of commitment in that respect. So very much a lap of honour for 1 and 2 Ferrari.
I've done it, he's saying. Is he the greatest? Well, you can't really compare drivers of one generation with another. Was Sterling Moss better than Alain Prost? Was Fangio better than Senna? You can't answer that. Different times, different cars, different circuits, different politics, different conditions. What you can say is, without the faintest shadow of a doubt, Michael Schumacher is very much one of the greatest of all time. And he's now world champion. 94 points, Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard, 51 points, so there's no way that Michael Schumacher can be beaten. He certainly can't be beaten by Barrichello or Ralf. And Louise Goodman is with one of the people who have made Ferrari victorious, Englishman Nigel Stenney.
I am indeed, Murray. Scenes of jubilation down here. Nigel, tell us about the feelings at the moment.
Oh, unbelievable, fantastic. To do it 2 years successive is fantastic. You couldn't want more.
How do you think Michael's going to react to this?
I think it was going to be pretty delayed, but he's very excited from what I can understand.
And what a way he did it as well.
It's the way to do it, 1 and 2, what more can you ask for?
Did he make any comment on the radio on that slowing down lap?
No, just magic, he didn't know what to say.
Well done, Nigel.
Thank you.
Well, he was pummeling the steering wheel with euphoria, and there he is now. Out goes the glove fist again. And driving alongside him, Rubens Barrichello, who has certainly done his bit for a brilliant Ferrari victory here at the Hungaroring. And you can't take anything away from them. They have fought so hard, they've done so much over the years to come up from the pit that they were in, where things were looking as though they were never going to come good for them, and they most certainly have, and they've underlined it with emphasis here today.
Three-quarters of Italy go on holiday in August, so they won't all exactly be in the cities and towns tonight, but surely all the Italians, wherever they are in the world, are going to be very, very happy to see the prancing horse once again dominating the world. And, well, with such a strong performance today, it's really their day, isn't it, Murray?
Yeah, that picture will be appearing in the papers, I'm sure. The two Ferraris side by side as they go into the Parc Fermé, where the leading cars have to go for mechanical checks. The drivers will get onto the scales now to make sure that the combined weight of the car and driver is not less than 600 kilograms. Ferrari in the World Championship, 140 points, nearly twice as many as McLaren, and there are still 4 races to go in Belgium, in Italy, in America and Japan. Williams are still third, Sauber is still fourth. There's no change for fifth and sixth because neither BAR nor Jordan scored any points. Ralph congratulates Michael. Michael thanks Rubens Barrichello. And I wonder if he's whispering in the little Brazilian's ear, I will see you right in Belgium, Italy, America and Japan. I don't think he is. But up on the car. Well done, Michael. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. The picture speaks for itself, and Michael the first to acknowledge all that his mechanics and engineers and designers have done for him.
Pity the cameraman's looking as if he's in prison today through the bars, but Shanwy, apparently they will not let the host broadcaster go down there into Parc Fermé, which is a great shame for all of us, but at least we can get a long view of Michael Schumacher celebrating with journalists, photographers that are good friends of his, with the team, of course, we've already seen, and somebody else he's just spotted.
In the blue shirt, Herbie Blash, one of the FIA, the Fédération Internationale Automobile, the governing body of motorsport's top men, with his mate Charlie Whiting, both of them very well known to Mr. Bernard Charles Ecclestone. And Herbie saying to Michael, come along, Michael, we've got to get you into the weighing area. We've got to get you up onto the podium for that first place, which you have so richly deserved. And the fans put the Ferrari flag on the track that Michael Schumacher and Barrichello have been driving over for these last 77 laps, as everybody in the scarlet outfits gathers to pay homage to Michael Schumacher and, of course, let us not forget, Rubens Barrichello. The crowd breaks ranks, that's okay, the race is over now. And they're entitled to come onto the track, get as close to it as they can, see their heroes up above them on the podium. It's been a massive crowd here in Hungary, close to the magnificent city of Budapest, and the air temperature here is still 31 degrees. It's been a gloriously hot, sunny afternoon to see an historic achievement. There it is in replay. Michael Schumacher, arm and fist out of the cockpit, the winner in Hungary at a record speed. But the one thing I think that has been denied him this afternoon is the fastest lap, which his rival, the past double world champion Mika Häkkinen, did on lap 51, 1 minute 16.7, which shatters, obliterates, wipes out Nigel Mansell's previous lap record of 1 minute 18.3. What a day.
He's probably the last world champion you're going to commentate on, Murray, and what's your view? How do you feel about that?
I'm obviously very sad. I've been trying not to say to myself as the Grand Prix went by, this is the last time I'm going to be at Monaco, and last time I'm going to be in Canada, the last time I'm going to be in Hungary. But I'm very, very glad that I was here today to be able to commentate on this supreme achievement of a man I unashamedly admire so much. I've never made any secret of it. He's not only a brilliant driver, but he's a superb personality, a wonderful ambassador for the sport, an extremely nice man, and he does it all in such consummate style. I'll be sorry not to be seeing it again, Martin.
We saw him on the grid, didn't we, talking to Boris Becker, and Becker was even staggered at just how calm Michael was. I think he had this race won in his mind long before the lights ever went out, and even a little faux pas on the outlap still did not destabilise Michael. He went through the gravel trap on his way to the grid way before the start of the race. Jean Todt, sporting director of Ferrari, soaking up the congratulations and the thrill. And rightly so, he's done a great job, hasn't he, for Ferrari?
The architect of victory. He is the man who's brought them not quite back from the abyss, but he's the man who's put them on top by getting the right people, the right facilities, the right money, the right everything, and including, we mustn't ever forget the engine man at Ferrari. He's so easily overlooked. I talk a lot about Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne, who are the technical director and the design chief at Ferrari, and Jean Todt. But Paolo Martinelli is the man whose people have produced this supremely effective Ferrari V10 engine, which pumps out something like 820 brake horsepower. It may not be the most powerful, the BMW is reputed to be, although nobody really knows how much power these engines produce. But Martinelli has done a fabulous job, and that sounds to me as though they're coming out on the podium. Yes, I can see them. There they are. Michael Schumacher, world champion in 1994, 1995, the year 2000 and 2001, leaps for joy on the podium with the Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard. And the German national anthem. Just a hint of a tear there from Michael, savouring the moment, but Germany's Michael Schumacher could not have done it without Italy's Ferrari. Let it all out. You can be as emotional as you like. You certainly deserve it. And the winner's trophy, an absolutely magnificent one, comes from the Hungarian Minister for Sport, Dr. Tamás Deutsch. And now the trophy to the winning constructor, and Jean Todt, of course, is the man who richly deserves to accept it. And my goodness, he does so with style and shows it to Michael Schumacher. Well done. Applause all round.
The trophy presented by Dr. Sandor.
It's David Coulthard's trophy now to Barrichello's. I apologise for that second place from Dr. Sandor Pinter, who is the Minister of Home Affairs here in Hungary, as you can see for yourself. And that just leaves another trophy for David Coulthard's cabinet. Not the one he would ideally have liked, because now his World Championship chances, sadly for him, have gone. But there's another year.
He must feel a bit like a stone in the shoe up there. He's been trying all year to spoil Ferrari's party, and all day he would not give up on the chase. But at the end of the day, they did not have enough speed. But mum's the word, champagne's the game, but this is no ordinary champagne. This is for the World Championship.
And John is happy to accept the full blast. They tell me, those who have been there, that the problem is that the stuff gets in your eyes with terrific velocity. So, a wonderful Hungarian Grand Prix. It's seen the 2 World Championships decided in favour of Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. A truly memorable occasion.
And it's welcome to the top 3 finishing drivers at the Hungarian Grand Prix 2001. It's Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard. Michael, many congratulations. Your 7th win of the season, your 51st win overall, equaling the record, but most importantly, your 4th World Championship. How do you feel?
I was talking to the team during the long lap we did, the slow lap we did, and I was always trying to find the right words. And in such a moment, I'm probably not a bad racing driver, but I'm quite a bad person in finding the right words in such moments. So you have to forgive me. I can't say much more than it has been a beautiful weekend. I mean, we did everything we could have done. I came here with not such a good feeling for whatever reason. I told to Jean, I'm not sure this weekend is going to be the one it will happen. And then we got pole position, we got the victory. I did obviously equalize 51 with Alan, and I got my 4th championship. So it's a bit too much for me right now to take it, and I simply want to say that it's a great achievement, but the way it has been done is what makes me feeling so fantastic, because the team around us, Rubens, myself, you can't believe how wonderful the guys are, how much we stick together in good times, in bad times, and particularly in bad times, and sometimes we had them as well. And we have such a great crew. I mean, such a good team. I'm really in love with all of them, and it makes so much fun to work with them. It's their achievement, and I'm more than thankful to all of them.
This obviously being the 4th World Championship is early, but how do you feel it compares to the other 3?
You always ask about comparison. I don't think that matters, actually. I simply want to enjoy that, and each one is different, and each victory feels different. It's always something special to win a Grand Prix, to win a championship even more. So that's what counts.
Thank you, Michael. Rubens, you pushed very hard all day to make sure you got that second place, which secures the Constructors' Championship for Ferrari. You must be very proud of your season.
I am. After everything, all people say, I think I'm having a wonderful season. And it's not because I'm beside him, but I'm really proud to be his teammate and be part of the party. After all, I think it's a fantastic party. It's a fantastic achievement, and I think it's not just coincidence that when I joined the team, we won the whole time. So it's something that I'm very proud, and I think the team deserve and Michael deserved. So really, really proud to be within them.
Thank you.
Talking for a moment about the actual race, were you firstly surprised when David was ahead of you after the first pit stop, and then surprised at the second pit stop when you got back ahead again?
To be honest, I had mixed emotions. I mean, the first one I was so disappointed, and the second one I was so happy. I couldn't believe myself. I mean, I think it's the same with him, with DC, but just the opposite. Fortunately for me, it worked out. I had a wonderful start. The first set of tires was a bit difficult to drive, so he was very close to me. I think he had a better lap in or a better pit stop, so he caught me there. And then I was driving really, really fast to beat him on the second one, and I was able to do a really quick outlap and be able to be in front of him. So I'm really happy for that.
Well done, thank you, Rubens. David, you tried so hard today to keep the championship alive for another race, but in the end it wasn't to be. Perhaps you can talk us through your race.
Well, obviously at the start, being on the inside seemed to be a disadvantage because Rubens was able to pass me quite easily, and Michael opened up quite a gap as we went down to turn one. So I knew it was going to be difficult from there. The fact that I was able to maintain the gap to Rubens made me realise there was a chance at the pit stops, and with the fuel we were carrying, I felt reasonably comfortable that you'd have to pit before me. And really pretty much just the opposite of what Rubens is saying. Then obviously in that middle stint I was struggling a little bit more with the tyres. It wasn't a new set, and not sure at the moment what part of the in lap, the pit stop or the out lap. Well, it wasn't the out lap because he passed me before the first corner, but certainly something there cost me a little bit of time. But in reality, it was second place was the best that could be achieved today, and obviously today is about Michael's title and his win, and obviously I congratulate him on that achievement, and recommend he takes a holiday for the last 4 Grand Prix.
I'd say last 4 Grand Prix, you're in a 3-way battle for second place in the championship with Rubens and Ralph. How important is it to you to come second overall?
Really, I don't feel any emotion for finishing second. I only want to win. It makes no difference to me, really, whether I'm second, third, fourth, whatever it happens to be. What's important is how I perform in each of the individual races, and providing I know I've given 100% effort from myself, which I know isn't always the case, but that's obviously the goal, is to try and achieve that. Then I can't do more than that, and it's not just your individual performance that decides where you finish in a championship.
Hi, David. So, Michael, is there a big party tonight?
Nothing is set up, but I'm sure we're good in improvising or some. We will find something. I'm pretty sure. We will see what it will be, but it's going to be quite wet, I think.
And will you and Rubens be singing again?
Sorry?
And will you and Rubens be singing again?
We just had a little warm-up before we came here on the podium, so yes, there will be a lot of singing tonight.
Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Congratulations again to Michael and to the Ferrari team. And now a word from Michael and Rubens in your own languages, please. Starting with Michael.
Ja, ich habe es eben schon im Englischen versucht zu sagen. Die richtigen Worte in so einer Situation sind immer sehr schwierig zu finden. Ich war vielleicht ganz gut Auto, aber mit dem Wortspiel ist es nicht immer ganz so einfach in so einer Situation. Was ich gerne zum Ausdruck bringen möchte, ist, dass der Sieg, die Weltmeisterschaft, sicherlich etwas ganz Besonderes ist. Aber es ist nichts im Verhältnis zu dem, auf die Art und Weise, wie wir es geschafft haben und mit wem wir es geschafft haben, weil diese Teamarbeit, die wir geleistet haben, dieses Zusammenhalten in schwierigen Zeiten, in schwierigen Momenten, nicht in diesem Jahr, sondern in den Jahren zuvor, teilweise auch in diesem Jahr, wie die Jungs hinter mir stehen, wie alle zusammenhalten, das ist einzigartig. Ich habe sowas in dem Team noch nie erlebt. Es ist so viel Menschlichkeit da, dass es einfach nur Spaß macht, mit meinen Jungs zusammen zu arbeiten und mit ihnen zusammen manchmal zu verlieren, aber hauptsächlich zu gewinnen. Das tun wir zum Glück öfter. Und dafür möchte ich allen danken, die im Team sind. Ja. Sorry, aber mehr fällt mir nicht ein. Also das lag mir auf dem Herzen, das wollte ich loswerden. Dankeschön.
Hey, Michael.